Hello, everybody, and welcome to How to Web Live Focus Edition, Digitalizing Romania, powered by KPMG. There is no question that digitalizing Romania's public infrastructure should be one of the top priorities of the next decade. But figuring out the digitalization strategy, getting all the players around, be it public institutions and solution providers and startups, it's not an easy task. To discuss about these challenges, we've invited today Bogdan Ivănel, who is the founder and CEO of Code for Romania, a remarkable NGO who provides free digital solutions for increasing transparency and improving the communication of the public sector in Romania. Bogdan graduated law school in Paris. He spent a decade in the academia and then founded Code for Romania in 2016 with the aim to put technology at work for social change. We are also joined by René Schob, who joined KPMG Romania in 2016 as a partner in taxation services and head of the German desk. But more important, especially for this conversation, René has been one of the driving forces of KPMG Romania Technology Committee, connecting the company to other innovation initiatives outside KPMG. So during this episode, they'll be discussing about how to design, build and administer digital infrastructure in Romania and how public and private entities should work together. So before kicking off, I want to say a big thank you to KPMG for powering this episode. René, Bogdan, a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to How to Web Live.
Bogdan, it's a pleasure to have a chat today with you. And particularly in the environment of How to Web. I think you as an NGO ultimately, and How to Web, who just gave a prize of €225,000 to the best startup in this year's startup spotlight. An obvious question: what would you do if you would get the €225,000 for your organization?
I assume we would just accelerate the work we do, because our work is very much funded on the effort of volunteers. Every year we go through a whole stage of prototyping and designing solutions that are solving some of Romania's deepest issues. And we rely mostly on our volunteers to develop those solutions, to make those solutions real. Any money that comes to Code for Romania goes into supporting that effort, supporting the framework in which these volunteers work. And our budget is somewhere around 500K a year to just have this organization going forward and designing the solutions for the volunteers to work on and administering this infrastructure that we built. And all the rest of the money is going into accelerating the work by investing in other solutions that we design, because we don't want to rely only on the volunteer work where we can get some funding, where we can get some financial support. We will invest that financial support in other social solutions that we've designed.
Maybe for people who do not know what you guys actually are doing in 1 minute, I mean, how do you approach the problems of the digital society kind of Romania, or maybe we can even call it non-digital society of Romania? And what are you doing with it? How you drag this forward?
So it's pretty easy. Like any piece of infrastructure that was ever built, we have 3 stages of our work: the design phase, the construction phase, and the administration phase. And first and foremost, every year we take 5 topics that we look in depth at. 1 topic in the health sector, 1 in the education sector, 1 in the environmental, 1 on vulnerable groups, and 1 on civic participation. So we have 5 important topics for Romania, 5 important objectives and challenges that Romania has. And we bring everybody around the table, all stakeholders. We talk with them and we try to understand their problems. We try to understand what's really happening there and where do the problems stand, and how can we come in with technology to help them work better and to help that topic function better. And that is the first phase. That is the design and the prototyping phase, in which we sit down with stakeholders, be it NGO, be it public institutions or expert, we design tech solutions, and then the tech solutions are either funded by external actors, and we put them up and they're free for everybody to use. They're open source and everything. Or they go to our volunteers and we build the whole system pro bono. And again, it's free to use and we put it out there and we administer it afterwards. The administration phase might be the less fancy of all of our work, but it's becoming the most extensive work that we're doing, just administering the critical infrastructure that we've already built in this 5 years.
I mean, you have now also brought up in this corona sanitary crisis several tools. So can you quickly just take one example maybe on how it worked? I mean, you mentioned stakeholders. Can you be a bit more specific with one particular initiative you had maybe in March, how this actually evolved and what the result is?
In fact, it's pretty interesting because in 2019, so before the crisis started, one of the 5 topics that we looked at in 2019 was building resilience and building response for the next earthquake that we expect in the southeast part of Romania. So we designed all these solutions that would be really useful if an earthquake would come. And what do you know? An earthquake didn't come, but the pandemic came, COVID-19 came, and within days, we could reuse solutions that we designed in case of an earthquake for the case of the pandemic. And we have Știri Oficiale or Date la Zi, the places where millions of Romanians, over 10 million Romanians, found the specific information they need on this crisis, data on this crisis, guidelines on what to do and how to act. Those were all built by Code for Romania in March and administered by us for the Romanian government. They are still the official venues for informing the public.
In this case, I mean, it's very impressive that 10 million have accessed it, and I think I used it myself, particularly in certain moments. It was extremely important to really see what is fake news, what is real news, and so on. But how usually these projects go on? I mean, you said you have a design phase, you take the stakeholders aboard, I guess also the authorities are there then aboard, and how can you really integrate this into this public system or the public ecosystem of Romania? Because at the end of the day, you can build the most beautiful car. If you do not have the proper salesman, right, the car is not on the market. How you solve this kind of challenge?
So I think there are 2 parts to this. The answer to the first part is design phase. So when we speak of design, we don't just speak of UI. We speak about going there, sitting down with public institutions, with bureaucrats in those public institutions that might use those solutions, and where those solutions need to integrate, build them with their current infrastructure in mind and with their current level of skills in mind, able to use what we build. So that is a very, very important part of the design phase, meaning that it can be used starting the next day in those places that need it and by those people that will be there. And the second answer is having a good relationship and a fair relationship with all the stakeholders, to be able to have them down for this sort of conversation, have them down and have access to them when we're in the design phase of our solutions. And this is something that didn't happen overnight. So 5 years ago, we were just a bunch of young people that started this NGO, and maybe there was not a lot of trust or not a lot of people paid attention to us, but it was build year after year this trust. And at this point, we mainly have public institutions and NGOs coming to us, and not us going and trying to explain them what we can do to help them. But in fact, right now we have mostly all sorts of public institutions and all sorts of NGOs coming to us and wanting to work to digitize their processes and trying to find digital solutions to some of their most important problems. And this was an interesting exercise for us from the beginning. We said, even in 2016 when we started, we said, you know what, we will never go and ask a public institution to work with us. We'll just wait for them to come and ask, and by that showing that they're open to collaboration. And in fact, it happened. It happened, and you know, public institutions like the government, the Romanian government, or even the Romanian presidency, large municipalities in Romania, all sorts of central institutions came to Code for Romania to help, because they understood that we have the know-how and we offer all our work for free at no cost for them. In the end, if you put all these three things together, why wouldn't you open your door to talk to us?
I mean, this sounds very interesting, particularly the change you could reach in also your approach, meaning to become so fast a very recognized organization that even public institutions come to you. If I may be a bit straight in my question, I mean, if I can get something for free, I happily ask you to do something for free, right?
Yeah, yet we don't take, let's say, we don't take orders in that shape or form from public institution. We set up the objectives and the calendar in a certain way by choosing those 5 topics that we look at every year.
But Bogdan, for instance, I mean, there is no free meal, let's put it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And are you not afraid that by somebody asking you, and I don't point at authorities,
Yeah.
Anybody asking you to provide something for free has not the real value in order to create something sustainable ultimately? You know, it's very easy to drop it afterwards because there is no depreciation on it anymore. There is no real buy-in anymore. It's easy to drop, you know. How do you achieve that this really lasts, that this is sustainable, what you create? Because I reckon this is for sure a challenge for you.
What we build is free in the sense that neither a public institution or an NGO needs to pay for our work. But our work is not free. It doesn't come from nowhere. Even the hours of volunteers that our community puts in, they're not free hours. They're taken from their day of leisure or from time spent with family. So they're not free hours. We pay for anything in this world, not always with money, but we pay for everything in this world. So we're very clear when we talk with an NGO, when we talk with public institution as our beneficiary, to point out to the real value of the work that we put in and the work that we give them. We put a budget on everything we work. We count even when it's volunteer work, we count the volunteer time hours of our community, and we put a price on it. We say, you know, if you'd go and pay this on the market, this is the cost for it. And when we have sponsors and when we have, you know, private entities coming and supporting our work, it's pretty much clear, because there's a price tag on it. There's the price tag that the solution cost. So it's not free. We're making clear to everybody, to the general public and to the beneficiary, what is the value of the work that they're being given access to, even if they're being given access for free. And we have partnership agreements which state obligations for them to use the solutions that we give to them, that set up KPIs in the use of those solutions that set up administration, an administration setup for it. But these are some of our answers, and it worked so far. But it's not easy. It's an everyday work to make sure that our solutions are being used and are being used correctly. But I think the main argument for our solutions is that many times they solve some very important problems that even the bureaucrat there in an office in government or the NGO that is being given use of our solution understands the problem deeply and wants it solved. So many of our solutions really answer to deep frustration of those entities. And this is why they're adopted so open-heartedly. It will not be the case of all our solutions, but this is the case of most of our solutions so far. It helps them in their work.
At the end of the day, if we look at it, I mean, you created already a vast amount of solutions, indeed. But of course, let's say the public authorities, being central or local, they need much more. And to me, it's like a bit more than drops in the Black Sea, of course. But at the end of the day, wouldn't there be needed a much more concrete digitalization strategy for Romania, so that actually a lot of things could go hand in hand and then also fit to each other, and not just having like little firefights here and there. And out of the work in the last 4 or 5 years of your team with the public institutions, what is still 2020 missing in order to really have a digitalization coming through here?
Mm-hmm. Even if you're not ready to say it, all these solutions that we're building, they are drops in the sea if we don't set up a framework for a correct digitization of Romania, in which, you know, public actors, organizations like Code for Romania and the private sector can build solutions that are not islands and integrate themselves into ecosystem that in the end really solve the problems that we have in Romania, and build the infrastructure that we need, the digital infrastructure that we need. That is why the basis of our plan for the digitization of Romania is not only the mechanisms of Code for Romania and the work that I've been describing so far, but we've always put forward 7 public policies that we want adopted at the governmental level, especially to create a framework for this digitization to happen and to not need this firefighting for Code for Romania. And I would say the main public policy that we're requesting is a set of clear and comprehensive standards for public software in Romania that would solve a lot in integrating these solutions that are coming to the public sector, plus 6 other public policies.
Bogdan, if we look into the kind of public institutions framework, of course, as we said, there are drops in the Black Sea, but what in general should be really somehow assumed as a strategy or as a vision in order for you to create value and for the society, but also public, private firms to create value, and that this goes all hand in hand somehow?
Yes. So as I've been saying, those 7 public policies that we proposed have one central proposal, that of having clear and comprehensive standards for public software in Romania. That would mean that we make sure that software built by Code for Romania, with software built by I don't know, a municipality somewhere in Romania with a public sector company, would be able to integrate, would have the same standards of data, would have the same standards of accessibility, etc. And they wouldn't become islands, but they would become ecosystems and would be integrated between them. I don't think we can speak of a process of digitization before we have standards of digitization in Romania by law. Basic standards, basic but comprehensive standards. And then we need to look at what happened in other countries that manage successful digitization processes. And I would point out to two basic conditions. The first is having the government having capacity to, first of all, assess and understand its needs, because it will never get tech solutions that respond to those needs before itself understand its own needs. And they cannot do this only by employing developers. They need to do this by employing business analysts, by employing software architects, by employing UX designers. And we have a big problem in Romania in that regard, because these jobs are not very popular. These jobs are not being created by the higher education system right now. And these jobs don't have a framework under which they would function in government now in Romania. So one of the public policies that we put forward is creating mixed teams of one UX designer, one software architect, and one business analyst. And these interdisciplinary teams to be sent to public institutions to analyze the current infrastructure and to analyze the needs and to integrate their findings into a real strategy for digitization of Romania. And if we look at the American model, if you look at the Estonian model, if you look even closer to home at the Austrian or the Italian model, we always see the use of this kind of professionals in government in order to assess the needs and in order to assess the next steps that they need to make. So I think this is one of the basic prerequisites. And a second prerequisite deals with the scaling of the digitization effort of the government or of any entity that is ready to help the government, either pro bono like Code for Romania does, or on budget like private entities do. And the answer for that is reuse. Reuse, building modular and reusing code and reusing solutions in order to scale them up through the country. Because if you build the solutions for managing parking in Cluj, more or less the same solution is needed in Iași and in other municipalities in Romania. There's no need to build it 17 times. You can build it once and you can replicate it in other municipalities. But for that, you need a legal basis, you need those standards that I was speaking before, and you need legislation on public code and open source use, at least within government.
If you look at this, I mean, basically, if you say the ecosystem is not there at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's just the punctual kind of products in various entities, but the ecosystem is not there. But isn't it also the whole vision, which is from time to time missing? Because I'm just referring out of my world, where the Romanian tax authorities, for instance, in the middle of the pandemics, they said, "Look, guys, now we go digital with our digital guicheu." And what they actually allowed is that you can online book a meeting, but in the lockdown, you could not have this meeting also virtual. So, you know, this is somehow not tying up at the end, because there is no real program behind, there is no real vision behind, and this offers then to just have once a claim, but nothing which follows up. How could this be better done? Would this be a project or a program which may be advised by some international institutions, or would this be a public-private partnership on coming up with this kind of program for Romania? Who should be in? What is your view on that?
To answer this, I'll go back to those three stages of building infrastructure, either physical infrastructure or digital infrastructure. Designing, building, and administering at the end of that infrastructure. And what the Romanian state is doing, it says, oh, look, we're building it. the problem is with the design phase of this infrastructure right now in Romania. And your example with the tax authorities in Romania is a very good one. I was a few weeks ago in a call with ANAF as well, and they were saying that they digitized 95% of all processes within ANAF. And I bet it's true. I bet they're not lying about that number. The problem is not that they're not digitized right now. The fact is that they're digitized badly. And that is because we don't have capacity within government, and it can only be within government. It can't really be outside government to understand the needs and to design solutions based on those needs. And for that, we need those professionals that I was saying earlier about, the UX designers, the BAs, and the software architects. And we don't even produce this kind of experts right now in Romania. Only there are a few in the public, private sector that are being educated by the companies that employ them. They don't come with that education from the university or from their previous experience. And the government simply doesn't have access to that kind of expertise. And that's why Code for Romania came into a position where many times we're the only one giving that sort of expertise to the government. But this is not a model that would be sustainable or would work in the long term. Of course, us at Code for Romania will do our best to help, because we can't just sit on the sidelines and do nothing while we see, bad software being developed or bad solutions being developed. But in the long run, the government needs to create its own capacity in that. And until it does, we will have all these solutions that are not really responding to the user needs, but will fall 2 steps to the right or 2 steps to the left of those needs.
So, is it a matter of money?
I don't think it's a matter of money. It's a matter of policy. So just to look at the UX designers, right now they don't even exist under Romanian law. So at Code for Romania, when we employ a UX designer, we don't have a code for UX designer in labor law in Romania. So we employ them as project managers, because that's the closest they come to. And then there's, as I said, there's no university teaching UX design. If you look at the US, if you look at other countries that are managing digitization processes successfully right now, you have this, people are being, universities are building UX designers right now. And they're building many UX designers right now. In Romania, we don't have this. So even if the government would understand these needs, it would need to act right now to have this kind of expertise in 5 or 6 years, by talking to the universities, by creating the legal framework around it, and then by employing these people and integrating them in government in a coherent manner when they come out of university. I don't think it's a matter of money, it's a matter of process. Nobody ever thought of it within government. I know that when we went in the last year and a half to all governmental levels and spoke about UX design and the need of UX designers in government, many times they were hearing the name for the first time. They're like, okay, what does this mean? And they also need to be educated, and that's part of the work of Code for Romania as well. Not only just building these solutions here and there that are solving deep problems within Romania, but also to come and educate people in government in order to build this legal infrastructure around digitization.
I think the one with UX, and I may take it also from our experience. We call it customer experience at the end of the day,
Exactly.
which is the whole journey and not only the user interface, because the whole journey matters. It was very interesting. Also, we have now as KPMG for the second year in a row this kind of customer experience rankings within Romanian brands. And it's really clear that now also during this pandemic, things are really changing. I mean, the ones who did not jump on the train fast, they are just left behind. Of course, if we are talking about the state, you cannot leave behind the state. At the end of the day, you have to deal with ANAF, you have to deal with a lot of other authorities. But nevertheless, I think this is one of the biggest concerns, is that we really cannot come up with a proper policy, also maybe due to a lot of political changes and so on, although this would be the most needed. Be it enough, be it, I just recognized it myself again. I had to prolong my residency permit, so I had to upload everything online, which I said, wow, so everything will now go very digital. I got even allocated a time slot where I had to appear still, of course, physically, and then you still wait 1.5 hours there, although they give time slots per 10 minutes, you know. So all this kind of, let's call it customer experience at the end of the day, taxpayers experience also, is really something which we have to embrace. Which leads me, however, also to another kind of still authorities, but a different side of the coin, which is the whole university system, as you said. In other countries, we are used that very often universities or institutes who belong to universities are used by the state to come up with innovation, to come up with innovative solutions. What you guys do, maybe in other countries, these are spin-offs of universities, and are somehow public funded. And by this is already, let's say, the mere issue of having not enough money is set aside. How is it in Romania? How do you perceive this? Because I do not perceive it on the level where it's really feelable. And I think it should be much more pushed. We have the image in Romania to be a top-notch nation with regards to digital brains, IT brains, young population, and also internet speed on the top. So we would have the infrastructure, the resources, but what misses that it's not properly gathered.
So that lands on a soft spot for me, because I'm not an IT guy. So before I started Code for Romania, I was a researcher. I lived 11 years abroad, and I was a researcher for large universities abroad, be it Berkeley or Sciences Po. And what we have in Romania is a higher education system that creates professionals, but doesn't do research at the level that it would be needed for the country. So the research role of universities isn't really fulfilled in Romania compared to other countries in Europe. Like I did my education in the Netherlands, and it's a totally different system there. The government and the parliament cooperates with universities to build public policy, to research the effects of those public policies all through, and the universities are capable of doing that. We don't have this capacity within universities right now. Secondly, we do have a problem with our IT universities because they've largely align themselves with the IT industry as it is right now in Romania. And the IT industry as it is right now in Romania is an outsourced industry largely that needed a lot of developer workforce. And this is what the universities provided: developer workforce, very good developers to be able to do that work in that the companies needed. Very few IT companies in Romania do the design phase of the products they build. And that is why the universities are not building those professionals. There was not a need from the labor market, and that's why they didn't do it. And this is why we need the government and we need the state to step up and say, okay, it might not be a need right now in the labor market, but there is a need in government, and we want to change also the labor market in the long run. If we want to be competitive in the IT industry, we need to become more creative. We started a discussion from the startup prize that was awarded, and if we look at companies and if we look at startups, the innovation is not usually tech. No, it's rarely a tech innovation that makes a company apart or a startup apart. It's how they integrate the customer's needs that makes them apart. And that's again having very good analysts and having very good customer experts.
But you touched a very good point also with regards to the startups. What I recognized in the last, let's say, 5 to 7 years is, however, that the ideas which come out of Romanian startups became much more sophisticated. And I think, however, if you say we do not have the design phase in Romania, they are working jointly with people from abroad and learn. And I think this is now more and more visible and feelable also in the whole startup ecosystem in Romania. But of course, at the end of the day, these startups, they want to become the next unicorn. I mean, this is their aim usually, and they do not particularly want to solve only problems for Romania. So this is rather the commercial aspect of startups. But I truly think that the more social or society part, which has to be used by public authorities as well, can be best driven out of research of institutes close to university at the end of the day. And you are also bridging this somehow by having a vast network of Romanians being abroad who work for your initiative. So can you tell us a bit how this works, this collaboration, how you are actually engaging with people in the US, maybe in Asia, in other countries in Europe?
I would do a disclaimer first, and then I'll answer immediately. The disclaimer being that we do have good designers in Romania. It's not that we don't. We don't have enough for what we need right now.
I think this is always true, right? It's not that we don't have, it's just the critical mass that we do not recognize it properly. It's often the case.
And in fact, Code for Romania was first designed as a means for the Romanians in the diaspora, for the Romanians abroad to get involved and to help shape things in Romania. When we founded Code for Romania, we were 4 friends that were living in the Netherlands at that point. And if you would have asked us 5 years ago when we started Code for Romania, if we would ever move back home, we would have said no. That's why we designed Code for Romania the way we designed it, because we thought, lines of code and designing this kind of solutions and building this kind of solutions, we can do it from anywhere. We don't need to be physically in Romania. And the story is that out of the 4 that started Code for Romania, 2 of us are back in Romania. The other 2 are still contributing from abroad. And Code for Romania has over 15%, almost 20% of its volunteer base from abroad. We have 12 time zones worth of volunteers that are contributing from Australia to San Francisco, Oslo, London, etc. And they're some of the most hardworking contributors we have. And many times we also learn a lot from their experience in their home countries, in the countries that they live right now. We have a very very big contributor from Oslo, from Norway, and he works in Norway in helping the government their design products. So he comes with the experience that he has there, and we have people in universities all around the world doing the work that you were mentioning before, advising government or designing solutions for social use. And I think that's a strong power of Code for Romania. But more importantly, Code for Romania, it's the first NGO in Romania that offers people in the diaspora a path to contributing back home, more than giving a vote every few years and sending money back home.
I mean, it's a different kind of impact you can create, right? Because at the end of the day, however, this bridge, I think is really needed. If you are only abroad, you come across like you just comment, because you don't feel it really. But likely it was like this when you then really were back home. You really felt what was really needed and how it was needed, and particularly how you can implement it, because this is then the next kind of challenge. What is an idea which somebody from abroad brought in and which was immediately embraced in Romania, and you could introduce it? What was the last one?
So I would say that we have this we are looking at ideas from abroad as a stage of our design process. So we have a stage in our design process which is called tech research. And what we do in tech research is look at how the problem was solved in other places around the world. And of course, our community abroad is helping us, but also our network of civic technologists and civic tech NGOs from around the world. We talk with people at Code for America, we talk with people at Codeando Mexico, we talk at people from Colombia to Japan to look at the solutions that were designed in their country to answer to the same questions. And I would say that especially if we look at the ecosystem that we designed now for COVID, and which is based on the ecosystem that we designed to respond to the earthquake that it's going to happen at some point in the southeast part of Romania, that was co-designed with colleagues at Codeando Mexico, which had a very clear understanding and a more immediate understanding of what a major earthquake in the 21st century mean. Our last big earthquake happened in '77. There was no mass communication to the scale of what we have today. There was no internet. There was no fake news being distributed the same way. So what we learned from them is what is happening with fake news. And that's why we designed a solution like Știri Oficiale. And also we learned from them what is happening in the 21st century when we have a disaster with donations going to the wrong hands. And that's why we built RoHelp, which manages aid delivery to the NGOs that are really helping on the ground. So yeah, my short answer is that we have this really a big chunk of our design phase is looking at how problems were solved in other places, and we are in constant contact with civic tech organizations from around the world. We have our network of volunteers, and we also have relationship with governments from around the world through our civic tech network.
Where do you see the limit to grow? Because this also needs more administration, less efficiency, and so on. And ultimately, I think we have to be fair to say that the state cannot live from NGOs only. I think there are serious and reasonable budgets within the Romanian state, plus coming from European Union, World Bank, and so on. So there is money, how you see there the limits of this kind of living from NGOs like you are, but also private entities who do this, of course, from a, let's call it professional. I do not say you are not professional, but for a living, you know. And where are their starts and where are the limits? How do you see this?
Yeah, we're also doing it as a living right now. Like we have 12 people fully employed doing the work of Code for Romania now, besides the 2,000 volunteers.
So it must have a price tag. This is what I want to say. I mean,
yeah,
as everything has a price tag, as we already said before.
Yeah, we're already the second largest civic tech organization in the world, almost the largest, which is an amazing thing to if you put it in the context of Romania. So we're not in the UK, we're not in Brazil, we're not in Mexico, we're in Romania, a country of 20 million, and we're the second largest civic tech organization, the largest outside the United States of America.
How many are living in Romania and how many are diaspora, you know?
So from the 2000, almost 300, almost 300 to 400 are in the diaspora. But looking at the mechanism of Code for Romania, and we just put out a plan, our plan for the next 5 years, and how we want to contribute to Romania's digitization until 2026. So we put out a plan. We have 37 objectives on 5 important pillars for Romania: health, education, environment, vulnerable groups, and civic participation. And I think the major contribution to that Code for Romania can bring in the next 5 years is in the design phase. So our promise is that on those 37 objectives, we will sit down with government, we will sit down with NGOs, we will sit down with experts in universities or the private sector, and we will be designing the solutions that need to be implemented in those 37 objectives. And after we design those solutions, they can have 2 paths. One, they can go to our volunteers or they can get a sponsorship, and they can be developed, and we will administer them outside government in civil society. And many solutions are to be developed in civil society, and the others should be taken on by the government and developed within government or with private entities outside government. But what we offer the government is the design power that they don't have right now, and that they will not be able, if we're fair in our assumptions, to build in the next few years. So hopefully they will have it there in 2026 when we finish designing on these 37 objectives. But until 2026, we'll be putting this design power and assistant power to help in support of creating this critical infrastructure that Romania needs.
So you refer to your kind of future strategies and focus areas. Let's a bit pick on them. In health, so what is in the next, let's say, 12 to 18 months, if we can consider this also sufficient as a development cycle, one of the top things from a digital standpoint which should be introduced in Romania?
So right now we already designed solutions for mother and child healthcare. So we have already a number of solutions on mother and child care, which is a very important topic. That are 3 of them are already live, 3 of the solutions, and the other are waiting for development. And right now we're designing solutions for access to Medicare, access to healthcare, which is very important, especially in the setup that we have right now with the COVID crisis. And there are many, it's very hard to pick one of the solutions and say, this is the solutions that need to be implemented tomorrow, because the needs of the medical system are so broad. So we designed a solution for to help people recover after an accident or a trauma, and those are very important for people with those conditions, and they need it yesterday. So we cannot be fast enough in providing that kind of infrastructure for them. We also design solutions for gathering better data on healthcare in Romania. We don't have knowledge of what is really happening, like on many other topics. Thirdly, we have a lot of solutions on direct intervention in hospital and in responding to accidents or to really important disease. We have solutions that connect doctors and give second opinion. We have solutions that connect patients with doctors better. We have a lot of solutions on on offering help before they get to a critical phase of their of the disease. So there are a lot of solutions, and I would advise everybody that wants to look at the solutions that we already built and the ones that we designed to go on our website, code4.ro/putem, and there they can see all the solutions, they can see the design, they can see the tech specs, they see everything, and hopefully we'll have many of them live as soon as possible.
You know what I was actually expecting is something with regards to a real digitization of all the paperwork, which you did not mention. I mean, I understand you provided solutions for various areas, which are extremely important. I fully agree. But isn't the biggest burden still in Romania that you have to run for papers in order to be treated? And this takes you as a sick person already a lot of days and hours, and maybe you have to drive throughout the country, and at the end a stamp is missing. Do you see this actually totally in the hands purely of the government? I mean, this is the authorities who have to solve it, and you cannot help because this is a too big backbone project, maybe, or where you see your influence there?
I don't think there's one magic solution for to cut the paperwork. So all the solutions that I was mentioning or that I was hinting to have impact of reducing paperwork. Only them by working together and by them having been integrated can we have an answer to the bigger problem of bureaucracy and paperwork and red tape in the health sector. Just to give an example, when I said we need to collect data better, I mean we need to have registers. We need to have a better cancer registry. We need a better hepatitis registry, which we don't. That would also cut on the red tape if the medical doctors would have access to this kind of registry. Secondly, many of our solutions that we're designing right now are answering to problems of general practitioners, medicina de familia, like it's known in Romania. That is where a lot of red tape exists right now in Romania. We also have one of the 37 objectives. It's called functional hospitals, and we have it scheduled for 2 years from now. So we can't do all 37 objectives from the beginning. We have them timed, so every year we look at 5 of these objectives. But we'll be looking at functional hospitals in 2 years' time, and that's where a lot of cutting this red tape would happen.
If we are talking big projects. I mean, like this from paper to digital. This, you can actually, or you see your role in bringing this forward to the Ministry of Health, for instance, and to give them support in thinking about it and maybe some opinions from other countries, or you say, look, this is a too big kind of program where we actually do not want to be in. We are very strong in solving smaller problems fast, then going into that.
No, that's exactly what we're doing. We have a partnership with the Ministry of Health. It's on paper. We work closely with them on all our objectives on health. We design solutions, including these large-scale solutions. We will not be able to develop these large-scale solutions with our volunteers, but we do half of the work, the design process, and then they can take what we've built and go and build it in the private sector and go and build it through the processes of government. But we're working with them closely on these large-scale solutions as well. And I'm just gonna point out to one of the solutions that we've been designing this year, as you were asking earlier, if I would choose one of them. We have in the health care sector this thing that is called acțiuni prioritare, priority actions. They're this kind of medical situation where you need to act fast. You can't plan for it because this kind of medical situation not only happen fast, but develop very fast, and you need to have an immediate answer. It's almost, the red tape there is crazy. And not only that the red tape is crazy, but there is no there's no watchdog over what's happening there. There might be a lot of money that is being misspent because you need to act very fast. And because it's not digitized, you don't have an overview of what is happening. So one of the systems that we designed this year, it's the system through which money allocation on priority actions are going to happen in the Ministry of Health. A system through which the patients having this kind of issues will be monitoring at the level of hospitals. The data will be going to the Ministry of Health, to INSP, and to the place where the checks are being written, to be sure that that only the money that are needed to be spent for that are being spent, and the fact that we can audit this at the end of the process.
I think one of the other burning problems is, of course, education, and let's focus in our last 5 minutes a bit on education as well. I would say the pandemics brought us also in an education crisis, because first of all, people could not, or kids could not go to school. They did not have the means to connect. But also when they then had the means to connect, of course, on the other side of the camera, the people did not know how to teach kids actually in the virtual environment, which is not is something perfectly normal. But nevertheless, it points also to a lot of problems which we have. Then it's coming, of course, further with the education that a lot of kids are raised still with grandparents and so on. So do you do something in that area?
So one of the topics that we already designed on is teachers training. Teachers training is the topic and the objective that we started with in education, because before looking at students, we wanted to look at teachers, because by having a better teacher, you influence thousands of students from the get-go. So we have a number of 6 solutions that are designed there, and 2 of them are already live, solutions that are helping schools monitor and manage the human resources and the skills acquisitions of their teachers. to solutions for training teachers, to solution to mentoring teachers. A big problem for teachers that enter the system is that they don't have any support or mentoring in becoming better at their job. Even if there is on paper and it is in law that they have a mentor, this system doesn't really work. To solutions on providing teachers to students in hospitals, because this is another big problem that we found out about. So we have 6 key solutions to the problem of better training for teachers. 2 of them are already live. 4 of them are designed and are waiting for development. Again, they can be checked on our website. And this year we're looking at skills acquisitions in students. So we're looking at things like financial education, legal education, civics education, environment education, health education in student, things that Romanian education doesn't really provide right now, and that we're trying to come up with solutions that might help students acquire this kind of skills that they need for in their life. A big part of it being digital education as well. And we're not only looking at young people and at young people acquiring this kind of skills, but we're looking at the whole spectrum. Also people over 40 acquiring this kind of skills. So we've designed a few solutions for digital education in adults.
It's very impressive what you said. We have 1 minute left, and I have one question for you. What could we do as a kind of a joint action or a call for action, where we look into the private enterprises, NGOs, together with the government? What should be done as a next step in order to really digitize Romania as fast as possible? Would it be an organization? Would it be money? What would be your call?
So our expectation as Code for Romania from the private sector is the following: support us in convincing the government to create this framework, for the legal framework for digitizing Romania. Those 7 public policies that we put forward, of course, we might need to add to those, we might need to look better at some of those, but I think we're all on the same line in needing that kind of legal framework for digitizing Romania. Secondly, Code for Romania is right now designing dozens of solutions per year. Last year, we've designed 65 solutions, key solutions that are needed in Romania to solve some of its deeper problems. We will not be able to develop all those solutions with volunteers. Our capacity is to develop 6 solutions at the same time with volunteers. It will take us decades to develop all the solutions that we can design with volunteers. So we do need money from the private sector. We do need support from the private sector to build these solutions and to make them available for the general public in Romania. So each of our solutions that is not yet live is looking for a private entity to adopt it and to support its birth, either through financial contribution or through also pro bono work. We have already 2 IT companies that are putting their own employees at work to develop the solutions that we've designed, and we're looking for other contributions like that.
Thank you very much, Bogdan. This was a very nice chat, and I hope we really can embrace these changes and we can push them further, also out of the private environment. As always, I think the responsibility of the state should not be neglected as well. It cannot be everything for free, and I think a public-private partnership would really be one of the best approaches with regards to both speed as well, know-how, and of course also I think innovation and design at the end of the day. And I hope if we meet again in 1 year that we saw some changes. and we can of course share then again success stories of the last 12 months, which helped Romania digitizing better. Thanks a lot again.
Thanks, René.
Hey everybody, that's it. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a great time. For more How to Web Live episodes, follow our social media channels, and until next time, stay curious.